All right. Well, here we go. Good Sunday evening, y'all. Welcome to the #1 podcast for Whatnot Resellers coming out of my wife's basement. I'm your host, Wise Man, and this is the Dark Sun Overvalue Network. We should be broadcasting live in the community section. I know some of my regulars have been able to make it. Don't know if anybody else is able to see or not. All right, so what I would like to talk about tonight is backdrop. When you sell on Whatnot, you're on camera. Now, there's like probably 5 main categories of backdrops. I'm only really going to talk about 3 of them. The 3 I'm going to talk about is hands and table only, a live backdrop like I use, and then a static backdrop. But to sum up the hands and the product only, I think it would be best to go to my particular product only cam, in which you catch a section of the desk and we lay the products out on it for you to see. Now, basically in this setup, as long as your camera can hear you or you have a microphone, you can demonstrate everything from the smallest M10 screw to an alcohol stove. And you could get in like belts and stuff too, up to a certain length. But you're probably going to want an adjustable height if you do something like this. Like mine's on a tripod that can go up and down. Now my product cam can also swivel, so if I want to talk to it and give it a different angle, I can do that. Or if I just want it to, kind of like loiter there. Hey, back Shauna, we've been having some technical difficulties, so we're working on it. All right, so that is a hands-only view, all right, or a product-only view, where the most you see is some hands. And you can minimize it all the way down to rubber gloves if you wanted to. I'd call that the Howie Mandel model, I guess. Anyway, moving on from that. The next thing is a live backdrop or a selling backdrop. And I actually did a video on this at the Sanctuary today or the other day, because the Sanctuary provides a much better filming atmosphere. It's much larger. There's not as many echoes. I don't have all this artificial light I have to do. So, all right. Y'all pay attention to this. I think it's only like 4 or 5 minutes. Good morning, y'all. I'm Wise Man. I'm here to talk to you today about backdrop. Backdrop is significant. One of the things that you'll see in your show, if you have what I consider a sellable backdrop, that means the things behind you are for sale. If you have a sellable backdrop going, people will be picking things off of that and saying, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? As you go through your stuff, it'll get you sales for things that you might not have talked about in that hour. All right. So let's say you got 2 hours on. Well, you want to kind of keep your average sell price up. So you want to do some low end stuff. You want to do some high end stuff. You want to do a bunch of mediums. As you're doing that, if you have a live for sale backdrop, all these things can be sourced without any effort on your part. Because you're over here talking about the ogre stick, and somebody's like, hey, what about that graphite or peacock dyed LBV behind you? Oh, those? These are $35 normally. I've been offering a sale for the last week, $25 a piece. They come with 9 pouches. One of them is a waist pack. So you get LBV, 2 3-round mag, or 2 3-mag pouches, 2 2-mag pouches, a flashbang pouch, a hand grenade pouch, an IFAC pouch, a canteen pouch, and a waist pack. And we're doing all that for $25. Are you interested in one of them? Okay, let me pin that real quick. All right, that should be running 25 bucks and you get to pick your color. Yeah! Man, he was in there like swimwear on a muggy day at daycare. It was crazy. All right, which one you want? Peacock or graphite? Graphite? All right, I got you. Let me go make your bin real quick. Trendsetter 815. Welcome to the cult. Protect those weaker than yourself and make the 3 feet around you the best place anybody could be today. All right, y'all, let me get that ogre stick back up. All right, so this ogre stick is made out of black locust, which means it would glow in the dark and exposed, or not glow in the dark, but it'll glow when exposed to black light. All right, you see what happened there. So I originally came in to talk about the ogre stick. While I was going through my ogre stick presentation, someone asked, whoops, got a power cord there. Someone asked about an LBV on the wall. I don't think that took more than a minute. I'll try to remember to post the time. I don't know if I did or not. You'll have to tell me in the comments. Less than a minute, I picked up an extra 25 bucks. And it was a product that I wasn't planning on talking about right then. So if you have a live sales background, you can pick up extra sales. That being said, if you want to compel people to be in your live show, you don't ever run a live sale board behind you, and you don't ever put your stuff in your listings. Then they have no choice but to be there during your live. I see that work with what I call a static backdrop, like a Who Am I backdrop. There's some sellers that got some really cool backdrops, remind younger buyers of, is it Twitch? The one where you broadcast your video game playing. Well, all those people have really cool backdrops that all these kids are dreaming about that are trying to play it on a 21-inch screen, and they're sitting this far away from it. So if you have a backdrop that's cool and trendy and you plan to keep your focus on your live shows where you want them in there to bid against each other because you're a buck and go dealer, that's how you run it. You put your Who Am I board up behind you and run a static display where nothing back there is really for sale. It's just like a, hey, this is what I can do. And then you're pushing your products buck and go, buck and go, buck and go. You'll get a lot more people in your stream. Now, most people mix in some map items, and that's good in those buck and go streams, but you'll notice the buck and go streams have a larger percentage of sellers that have a pretty much static backdrop. It might be the shelves, but you can't see what's in the boxes on the shelves or read the model number. Or it could just be their name right behind them and some things that never seem to change. Always thought that was a good way to be consistent for your customers. All right, well, live sales I think are better if your inventory is bigger money and it sits around longer. Like, I'm very niche, so I have a live sales background because my stuff doesn't appeal to everybody. I can't buck and go like they can in knives and make profit on the stuff and still be able to stay in business. That being said, that's a lot of energy too to run a several hundred buck and go knife show. That is a lot of energy. That might be best left for the young for me anyway. All right, I'm Wise Man. We're the Dark Sun Overvalue Network. I also have a business, valifecoaching.com, where I do now help you get your whatnot seller plan together. Life coaching, we don't teach you how to do it. We just help you with the decisions you're already trying to make and give you a little insight in what we've learned in helping other people. So y'all check that out, valifecoaching.com, Or you can check us out at Dark Sun Overvalue Network or dsobn.com.net.info.org, but never.gov, y'all. All right, y'all. I trust y'all enjoyed watching that as much as I enjoyed making that. I can't remember if I stayed on task only talking about backdrop in that one with the live backdrop. I want to talk a little bit now about a still backdrop. One that doesn't change, one that contains your branding and stuff, or a little bit of a mix in between. We Save You Money is like a mix in between. The backdrop has a lot of product on it. It looks like it's on rolly shelves sometimes, but it's not always the same. So I don't know if that's like upcoming shows that you can see the product for. If you can, that's a really good idea. I see Laura's here. I know Laura does a live backdrop. I was in there the other night and she had things up on the wall, so I'm assuming those things are all for sale, right, Laura? Like they're already in your shop somewhere. Having a backdrop, yeah, she said yes. Now, having a backdrop that's misleading, while it, some people will build a backdrop that's it's not really a live backdrop. Like in knives, you see it sometimes. You actually kind of wonder if it might be an empty box backdrop. But the volume doesn't really change on it. It always stays about the same amount of boxes in it. So I consider them like a static backdrop. It could be all their high ends and it just doesn't change volume that much. I'm not sure. I did talk about it in the video, okay. And I'm sure there's a backdrop that I haven't figured out yet, that some high-tech lad or lassie's gonna come up with. I mean, even as I just brainstormed a couple types of backdrops that I thought would be helpful. One that I actually came up with would be a live screen backdrop. All right, even if it came out a little gaudy, like Japanese game show, it might work. Especially if you tend to get off on tangents like I do. Like, I have a vision for a larger operation where there's 3 of us working it, so that my tangents don't interrupt the flow of actual work being done. You guys know how I get. Now, that also goes back to your goal, though. What are you doing? Are you spreading love, or are you trying to make $1 million? If you want to try to make $1 million, you need to be all business. You need to be pumping products as fast as possible. And if you're trying to make $1 million, that means you must have $100,000 to play with. And if you got $100,000 to play with, then there is a model that can be used, that I think you could make $1 million. You could take in your first $1 million probably in your first or second year. I don't think you'd make $1 million for about 3, though. I don't know. That one's still up in the air because the math is all dependent on the market. And like right now, everybody's being tapped for gas and diesel. So if you're paying a little bit more there, you don't have as much discretionary funds when you get to the end of everybody's got paid this week that can get paid this week, Speaking of finances, I do recommend the 45-day model, which is paying every bill ahead of time or as soon as the bill is posted. And that usually gives you 45 days on any particular bill to catch back up if something bad happened. And I also recommend emergency reserves, but business people by nature have to take risks, and sometimes that is with the reserves. As a good steward of what God gives me, I would suggest we not do that. Although I have done that many times in growing my business. False advertising backdrops. I don't think I talked about those. Let's face it, there's a lot of hacks on whatnot. And when I say hack, I don't mean a shortcut. I mean, like in the old days, you'd have called the guy a hack and nobody would have done business with him in the town he lives in. You know, that kind of guy or gal. As long as you're not a hack, your backdrop doesn't really matter. But if you start putting things up there that are basically like, if you have goods in your backdrop that are representative of the category you're in, you probably want to be able to sell those goods for a couple reasons. First reason is you're going to get tired of hearing everybody asking you about the goods in the background. The second reason is you might think it makes people come in because they got to ask you the question. But if you're in that category and you're displaying that type of good, but you're selling a completely different type of good than what goes in that category normally, people will consider you to be false advertising. It's like running around with some Dr. Scholl's in your boxer briefs to make it look like you've got a firmer butt than you do. You know, it's false advertising, you know. Laura Parr says she really likes Whatnot, but has found it is a very expensive hobby. And I was wondering, how do you handle people that literally bid too low and you're mad? What I realized was the person that won, you should never be mad at them because they did do their part in what you were trying to do. It's the other people that didn't bid on it, you know. They didn't really do their part in what you're trying to do, but they're also there for their own interests. And I think that it's very important to remember that if you don't do shady stuff, and you're literally doing this the right way and you're plodding through it, you basically have to come up with a model in which the bidding isn't the problem. You know, not everybody has enough discretionary funds to spend it in a given week. So even if you have 10 to 12 core people, they might not have any discretionary funds that week to spend with you. And while they might bid for what they do have, they do not bid to win, so to speak. And then it's also a timing event. You know, you need to figure out what kind of pay cycle your peeps are on, so to speak. And make sure that when 7 out of the 10 of them get paid on a 2-week rotational, that at the end of the 2 weeks, you've got some of that stuff that they were talking about. But I'm also on a lot, and I'm communicating with my peeps a lot. You know, all the people in my community know they can ask me for things, and I will get them for them as long as I can get them in. And Pac Shauna says she'd recommend not starting at a price going to bite you in the butt if it doesn't go for what you thought it should. Yeah. You said you totally agree about one of my shows. Yeah, but once you... Oh, thank you. I try to raid to y'all when I see you on. Like, when I raid from OBS, I have to put it into the chat.
And when I put it into the chat, it does not show me all the people that are on. So, like, I think it was Saturday, I actually waited around. I was getting tired, but I stayed on because I saw you were coming on at 3:40, and I wanted to be able to raid whatever I could out to you. So I didn't have very many, and not that many stuck around, but I was able to raid them out. And thank you for giving me a shout out. I appreciate that. Now, and you also got to remember, Laura, we're niche. We are very niche. If you look at, I always hate to refer to We Save You Money, but I think their operation is like the epitome of efficiency. When I see them going, they have a constant state of motion. They don't piss around like I do. I mean, you hear that scanner going all the time. Beep, beep, beep. You know, they are effective. I've actually listened to their show and been thinking about how can I improve some of the things I do just based on contextual observations. Yes, this is definitely a 2 to 3 man job, unless you are extremely niche and organized and you carry, like, for us, the reason why it works out is because we are we're a corner store for preppers and enthusiasts, all right? So when you do things like that, especially with surplus, I have a large amount of one SKU item for most, probably half of what I sell. Showrod's saying you got to ask for what you want. Oh, whoa, today was your last show. What? What are you doing, Showrod? Why is that? He says he's giving it up as a seller. Man. Are you moving into the bunker finally? Man. And Laura asked, do I recommend an LLC? If you want to do this full time and you want to make some money at it, yes, you need to get an LLC and you need to figure out a better pricing matrix than what Whatnot will suggest. And trust me, I get that what Whatnot suggests will work over time, maybe, but you gotta have a lot of inventory of what people want if you think you can make big money at it. All right, because if you're not willing to do anything unscrupulous, like, sometimes you're gonna watch the pot get really small and it's gonna be very scary. And then other times, what's up, Chadwell? Oh, you've been selling on here that long? Margin is particular to each environment. What I mean by that is, knickknacks and paddywhacks, you're going to get a higher margin on. And everyday essentials, you're not going to get as much of a margin on. So I would say if you're buying surplus, it's whatever the market can sustain. Right now, I think surplus dudes got them pretty much trained for $3 to $5 pouches. I don't know what you're doing. You do mostly buck and goes, right? Or you doing buy nows? I I think Showrod does buy now. You do buy now, or do you do auction at what you want, Showrod? You do auctions, yeah. Laura Parr says she does auctions. So, with an auction, you don't get to pick a margin. You know, you gotta depend on what they're doing. It's whatever the market wants to pay you for it. Now, when you're setting margins, if you have an LLC, yeah, Showrod's probably got a better model. Do an auction at a start price. And sometimes that start price could be the cost of what it took you to get it to you, which includes buying it and shipping it. Then, what your projected whatnot fees are. So I always round up, I always say 12% for items up to $20. And then over $20, I usually just do the math if I'm going to blow it out. But you could start at whatever the whatnot fees and stuff just above what you paid for it. So that way you're not actually losing money. But the bad thing about not making money or making small amounts of money, everybody will say, oh, well, you can turn your money faster. Well, you can, but if you get in with companies that have a map, and you're pretty much stuck at map all the time, except for when someone offers you less, most of the time those maps are 33% or more. So if you're in with a bunch of high-end companies and you're selling 33% over map, or 33% over cost, because that's what map is, you're doing a lot better. Showrod says, yeah, you always got to add those fees to it. And you do. And you need to add the shipping to it, too. Unless you're in a magic realm where every package that goes out the door is in between 1 and 5 pounds, and you can use priority mailers. Otherwise, you got to consider all that. You know, that stuff's not free, and it all goes into cost of goods sold. So at the end of the year, when you start adding all that stuff up, it gets painful, and it gets obvious, and it gets unattractive sometimes how much you spend in ancillary items. It's horrible. And when you get to my size, I got to be quite honest, when me and Big Man and the two ladies were working, it was 4 people. I have the one lady's 3 days a week, and the other lady was only coming in 1 day a week, and she was doing a whole bunch of loading. And because of that, we were selling so many products. He was doing 2 shows a day, 2.5 hours. We were selling so many products that I could not barely keep up with the supply side. Between obtaining goods, working auction to get goods, searching for the best price on goods, and then make sure I'm competitive with what people can see when they search the internet. It's difficult because you got to make sure you're buying at the right price to sell at the right price. So if you want to get an LLC and start a business, then you want to sell retail level goods. And at that time, you will see a change in the amount of profit you can make on a new item that's in demand in your category. And another thing you might try to figure out is what kind of categories can you get into with the different types of things you do, you know. Because one backdrop can work for several categories. What's his name? They have Appalachian Outfitters now, I think, but they were just off in the woods survival. He would be in 2 categories a week, just like I am. All right, I gotta catch up on these comments. Showrod wrote, whatnot kind of changed some when they brought Mr. Beast on. It brought a lot of people that want stuff for nothing. It could be. I don't know. I've never been a giveaway person, so I haven't really paid attention. Pakshana replies, I haven't noticed a huge amount of new people who want stuff for nothing. I just think they're getting bolder because they've been able to. Ah, okay. Who's Jesse and Clay? I don't know who they are. And then Showrod writes probably. Yeah, wood panel. Oh, okay, off in the woods, yeah. Yeah, I like them. And Laura writes she likes Showrod's background. Can't remember, is that wood panel Showrod? I forget. I'm hoping that y'all will see some of my, or at least one of my, oh, do you? Okay. At least one of my, coaching people will be coming on in a few weeks. They've been making a lot of progress. I'm so sorry. I gotta scratch my nose. I don't know what happens when I come down here. My nose always itches. Is there a witch down here? Laura Parr's leaving for dinner. Take care, Laura. All right, Pakshana says, they're good people. Their mom is on here now, too, selling the Aftershock freeze-dried meals they've made for 20 years. Yeah, I seen those. I thought that was a good idea. Okay, so we watched the movie, or we watched the video on the live sellable backdrop. And we watched the, or we talked about static backdrops a little bit. And then we talked about the false advertising backdrops. And, you know, chat, y'all remember, this isn't aimed just at us here right now. This is also aimed at the larger podcast. Speaking of which, I did drop an episode today. I did not bother to put it up in there. I figured anybody that was interested by now is probably subscribed to the YouTube channel. So check that out. And hopefully we'll get some more people in to participate in the conversations as well. I was in Surplus Dudes. I know what it is. It's the towel. My wife noted that every time she washes these new towels, there's so much lint in the dryer that it doesn't look like the air can escape. And I just got out of the shower and did my hair, so I'm thinking there's pieces of towels in my eye. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. Have to edit that out for the podcast. Oh, jeez. I hate the edits, too, because I always forget where they're at. And who has time to watch yourself twice? All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? Laura, if you get the business license, it will make things easier as far as sourcing goods at a better price. Showrod, I hate to see you go. You know, something's up. If you need help with anything, let me know. I'll do what I can. Ah, yeah. All right. Yeah, I've actually noticed that across a couple people's shows that a common theme now is they love the fun that they've had on Whatnot, but at the same time, it's consuming them. And I was telling my son-in-law today, for every 2.5 hours I'm on, I'm doing another 4 hours of work, easy. Easy. You know, and with the amount of energy it goes into something, you know, like, all these nights my wife's been home and I've been down here, you know. Pakshana says she gets that completely. And that's why she hasn't done it yet. She hasn't had time with having to drive. She drives a bus. Driving a bus part-time and family and other responsibilities. We'll assume. Adidas Addict writes, with all the packing and the shipping, heck yes. You know, like, I don't know how long I can keep doing that. That is rough. But I got to thinking about it, and if you go to scale, if you wanted it to be a job, if you want it to be a business, it can be. You just got to find people that are willing to work, and you got to take some steps as an employer then to make sure you're straight. Hire people on 1099s. Tell them to bring their own computers, bring their own phones to take pictures. Then you pay them with a 1099, and their computer, their internet, and their phone are all tax deductible. Showrod writes, I get a lot of buyers every show and sell out of a lot of stuff, and it takes a lot of time to order and pack and ship. I put a lot of hours in a week. I completely agree. But I also think that this is actually one of those great retirement gigs. Because if you were to go dark, and when I say go dark, I don't mean like get out, but, go down to every 2 weeks and just did one massive show and took your whole 2 days to get it packed. Might not be that bad. But when you're out here pumping the grind and chasing the next dollar, it really does begin to consume a lot. I realized the other day that I had let about a third of my job slip off when I began doing Big Man's job. And I don't even do as many shows as Big Man did. But with juggling all the different things, it's difficult. And then there's other days where I don't have anything going on and I'll just do a pop-up. And I'm like, I should have spent my time elsewhere. And those are probably on me, because if you're not advertising, nobody knows you're going to be on a Saturday afternoon. Nobody comes to see you. And that actually happened yesterday. But I had been here and all that stuff had come in. So I was just loading stuff anyway, waiting on my wife to get home. So it didn't really matter to me if I made any money or not. I was just getting on to give everybody an opportunity to get what they wanted, because I'm telling you, it is not looking good, y'all. It is not looking good. When I stop the recording for this, we'll start talking about the Iran stuff. All right, so I think we pretty much covered all the backdrop stuff, and then we got into questions. Anybody else think of anything they want to talk about or need to go over today? I know backdrop to me is important. It is one of the biggest things that me and Big Man would work on. And that's why you always saw my shop changing so much. Every couple weeks, it was almost like it was a new shop. So keep that in mind as you go through your whatnot journey. Your backdrop is important. If you don't want people to interact with it, don't put it in sight. If you get tired of answering the same questions, no, that's not for sale. I'm here selling pumpkins and tactical gear. I just used my tactical gear up there as a backdrop because I think it looks cool. Well, unless they really like what you got, I don't know if they're coming back. And putting tactical gear in the backdrop doesn't make you a part of a category called tactical gear. Selling tactical gear was what would make you a part of a category called tactical gear. So, see some weird things though. But then again, I go into books, and in that brief moment that somebody might see me selling a poncho liner, they might say the exact same thing. Ha! See how that works? You point that one finger, and 3 categories come back at you. I like that. All right, y'all. I'm Wiseman. This is Dark Sun Over Value Network. Stay tuned for another commercial from Virginia Life Coaching. Hopefully, I've had the whole thing finished by now. We will see. All right, check us out next week. Every Sunday at 7:30 in the Whatnot community section for Wise Man's Roundtable for Whatnot resellers.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, let me check something real quick.
Sure.
I'll pull up the app.
Whatever works. I just want some space back.
At VA Life Coaching, we can get you started on your Whatnot career. Act now, our slots are filling up in our 7 week.